Welcome to another edition of Under the Bus, where three guys who've been on a few buses in our day, probably been under a few buses in our day too, extol the virtues of sport, but also throw a lot of sports people under the bus. I'm Bob Stevens from ESPN SportsCenter's Glory Days, joined by Curry Kirkpatrick of Sports Illustrated's Golden Days and Hall of Fame coach Rich Basirico from basketball's Golden Days. Three old school guys who have adapted to the Taylor Swift world. What do you say, Curry, about Tay-Tay and the Super Bowl?
Well, I don't know. What is it? It's 2 days later, and everybody's still talking about this thing, and everybody's dissected it from front.
Sporting event in history.
Only 123 million, right? I think somebody said it approached CBS said it approached the Apollo landing for audiences. Yeah. I think
all saw that too, right?
I didn't see that. I was somewhere else. I don't know. Where were you, Rich, when they landed on Mars or wherever they did the moon? Was Apollo landing?
I have no idea. I know I was alive. I know that, but other than that, I don't know where the heck I was.
I watched this on Sunday. I just, I think the NFL, big picture here.
Yeah.
I think the NFL, I think we're in the age of, it's like the Jordan age in basketball. I mean, it's Mahomes' age. It's Mahomes' time. I think what Jordan won 6 in 8 years. And this kid, Mahomes, has 3 in 5 years. I mean, it's like he's in a different field. He's like a kid on a playground, and all the rest of us are just, choosing him to go first and just go and do it. He's amazing, don't you think, Rich?
No, I think he's a great quarterback, one of the best. In the first half, I was like, what is he doing? He's holding on the ball too long. I even texted you guys and said,
I know, you said he's not the GOAT. He's not the GOAT.
And then, of course, the second after the game, I said he is the GOAT. I mean, he just came on.
He is coming out of the game now, is he? Is he the GOAT?
I still have Brady above him, don't you think? I still have Brady above him. I mean, he's terrific. He's outstanding.
Well, he's only halfway. He's only halfway to Brady, but he's not 30 yet either. And Brady won at least 4 of his after, in his late 30s, I think.
Right.
So he's well on his way. I just think he plays the game differently than any quarterback I've ever seen, even in Brady. I mean, he seems to me he contextualizes, and he's looking at the game different during the whole game, and in the fourth quarter he just goes nuts. He just dominates the thing, and he says, who didn't think he wasn't going to get the ball on 4th and 1, on 3rd and 6? I mean, he's just going to take the ball and go, and you've got to figure out a play. Where's he going to go? Because he's going to have the ball.
Well, he when they got the ball back in regulation, it was under 2 minutes to go. And seemed like there was no concern. I mean, it's like only less than 2 minutes to go. They got to drive the field. No big deal. Really, no big deal for him.
Yeah. I think it was interesting. Of course, I always
look at it as the Tiger Nicklaus argument in golf, where Nicklaus had the number. He had it up there. Okay, come get it, Tiger. And Tiger was on pace to do it for quite a while. And then, he got hurt. And Jack. So I guess, Mahomes is I think he's on the way, but he hadn't done it yet.
Well, I didn't really pay that much attention to the first half. I thought when he really looked infallible for the only time in the game was early in the second half when he threw the interception. And now they're down 7, and San Francisco has the ball 3 straight times, and they go 3 and out 3 straight times. They had the ball to go down and make it a 2-touchdown game and did not. And that's when they had him on the ropes. Because, Rich, I think you're right. He looked a little confused there where he threw the interception. But after that, he was just dominant. I mean,
he brought his A game. He brought his A game in the second half, without a doubt. Kansas City kind of upset me in the first half with it. They're behind. They're not playing well at all. San Francisco's driving the ball down their throats. And then Kansas City D-back gets called for slapping a guy in the helmet. How stupid. You're in the Super Bowl. Now you're going to I'm thinking about me now. I want to show the world that I'm a tough guy. I'm not going to let this guy do anything to me. It's a 15-yard penalty. I would have been livid with him at halftime. I mean, I guarantee you, Kelsey and some of those guys jumped that guy for sure.
He went on
Well,
to be, I mean, whatever happened, he went on to be a critical guy.
Yes.
Ayuk and the other wide receiver for the 49ers were really pretty much worthless after that
Yeah.
because of the job those two cornerbacks did.
Right. Well, they did.
Well,
Their secondary is terrific. It really is.
well,
Go ahead.
well, speaking of jumping, how about Kelsey jumping Andy Reid? What do we think about that, Rich? I mean, he went. I mean, he went
It
after me,
shocked me.
bumped
It
him.
shocked me. He bumped
I
him.
mean, it's
Andy
stunning.
Reid
It
almost
was
fell over.
it was stunning.
Yeah.
And Andy Reid, they both joked about it after. Of course, they won the
Yeah.
game.
Right.
Yeah.
But Rich, have you ever had one of your guys come up and bump you and say, "No, you're not going to"? What
Not in
would
high
you have
school.
done?
High school kids don't do that. High
Yeah,
school
yeah,
kids,
yeah.
they don't do that. But
Yeah, right.
I was shocked when that happened. I was like stunned, like, what is going on here?
What do you
And
think? What do you think guys like Belichick or Jimmy Johnson or people like that would have, if that had happened to them in the Super Bowl? Don't they sit his ass down for the rest of the game? I mean, I don't know.
I think they do, but to be honest with you, I don't think anybody would have done that to Belichick. I really, Don Shula, none of those guys, they wouldn't have done it. They just wouldn't have done it.
Hey, did you ever see anybody in all the years Belichick coached? I'm trying to think of any time any player even came up to say, "Good evening, coach," to Belichick once the game started. They were never within 20 yards of him.
Exactly.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
well,
spin this forward. Let's spin
all
this
the
forward
animals.
a little bit.
What's that?
Dynasty? Are you buying the talk about dynasty? To me,
Yeah.
dynasty is the
We're in the
Celtics
mid.
and
Oh,
the,
no.
and the
We're
Lakers and the Yankees. This isn't a dynasty yet.
no. I
Win another
disagree.
one.
We're in
Then
the,
we'll talk.
we're in the what, Bob? It's what, 3 and 5 years, and they
Yeah.
played in another one. Oh, I think it's a dynasty. I think we're in the midst of a dynasty. I said that about Mahomes. I just think we're his playground, and he's just. I mean, are you going to bet against him next year? The odds are already against him next year, and he's using that already. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's a dynasty. Yeah, I do, for sure.
The only thing
Let
that
me
can
ask you
happen
this:
is
what do you?
with free agency. With free agency,
Go ahead,
if they
Curry.
lose some of those guys, that could make a big difference.
Well, and Kelsey's only got a couple more years with Mahomes and a couple
Right.
of those other guys, but the defense is very young, as we see, and guys come along who will want to play with Mahomes. You don't think in free agency you want to go play with Mahomes?
I'm going to say, yeah, that's where I wanted to go. Imagine if he gets a Mike Evans or a Michael Pittman or a Stephon Diggs, guys who are all free agents, can go anywhere. Imagine if he actually gets a receiver that can catch the ball. Might not be fair.
Let me ask you. I want to know. I want to know from Rich and Bob, maybe. What do you think of the overtime decision to take the ball or go second?
I would have went second. I would. But here's the crazy thing: they say that some of the players didn't even know the rules.
Well,
They didn't know the rules for overtime. That would change from the
that's
past because both teams get the ball. But don't you tell your captain when you go out there? He knows that the captain they're going to get they're the visitors. 49ers are the visitors, so that if it goes their way with the flip, he gets the choice. Do you not tell that guy that we want it second?
Well, and it's unforgivable to me that they didn't know the rules, that they don't know the rules. I mean, they're professionals. I saw afterward, even the fullback for San Francisco, Juzak, he was on the podium and he said, "I had no idea the rules had changed. I had no idea what the rules were." This guy is from Harvard. Okay, this guy is from Harvard. And his wife became famous in the last few weeks. She's the one that designed the jackets that Taylor Swift wore, the '87 jacket. That's his wife. That's Juzak's wife. She's become a bigger name as he is. But the guy went to Harvard and he doesn't know the rules. Are you kidding me? I mean, but then again, Rich, did you hear what Mahomes said about who's the guy that caught the touchdown pass? Who's the guy that caught the winning touchdown pass?
McCole Hardman. Yeah.
McCole Hardman.
Came over from the Jets. He came over from the
Well,
Jets
Mahomes
during
said
the middle of the season.
Mahomes said after the game, he said today or yesterday or something, he said, I looked at the guy. He had no idea we had won the game. I said, dude, we just won the Super Bowl. Hardman had no idea. So both sides apparently And I mean, and you remember Hardman afterwards said, he said, I thought I blacked out. He said, I
Yeah.
blocked out for a minute. I think he was embarrassed that he didn't really know the rules. He realized afterward he won the Super Bowl. I
How
mean,
many times
what did
was he
these
on the
guys?
field during the season? How many times was on the field? He didn't. Honestly, he wasn't on every play. It's a shock that he was even in the game at that time.
Yeah,
Well, and
yeah. I mean, he had not spent a lot of time on the field
No,
for sure.
not at all.
well, and the fact is, of course, he's a former Jet, so he probably wouldn't know the rules.
Except he was on the Chiefs last year,
That's
and
right.
they had thrown him overboard in the offseason. Hey, I'm going to stick
He's
up.
won.
I'm going to
He's
stick
won.
up
By
for
the way,
Shanahan.
Hardeman has won as many Super Bowls as Mahomes. He's won 3. I didn't realize that. He's
There you
been
go.
on 3 Chiefs teams.
There you go.
So you're going to stick
I'm
up
going
with
to stick up
Shanahan.
for
Yeah,
Shanahan.
I do. Yeah, I thought, a point that Tony Romo made that nobody else made for the San Francisco taking the ball first and Shanahan was that he thought that his defense was gassed. Mahomes had just driven the field at the end of regulation, and his defense was exhausted, and he didn't want to put them right back out there. That was Romo's take. I thought that was an
Yeah,
interesting.
but and he also Shanahan also wanted it He wanted it third.
Third,
If
yeah.
he did what he did, Kansas City does what he does. If Kansas City kicks a field goal, then it's sudden death. Then
That's the whole
it's
point.
first score wins, and
Right.
Shanahan
That was
wanted it next.
Shanahan.
So I don't
That
throw
was
anybody under the bus on this Super Bowl. That's scary. We should be doing it to somebody. I don't throw anybody under the bus.
well. How about some of the celebrities? I mean, what do we have to say? I mean, there were so many celebrities at this game, including Taylor, that she had a hard time. I mean, there was Jay-Z and Beyonce and Lady Gaga and Paul Rudd, and I read Elon Musk was there, and Martha Stewart and Gavin Newsom, our next president,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was interested though in the Taylor the suite that Chelsea, that's my daughter. Kelsey apparently
Yes.
spent $1 million on the
Right.
suite to
Taylor
get all
spent
the
the money.
to
Taylor
get both
bought
the. Well, said Kelsey bought it. Come on.
Well, that's
But
who you
anyway,
throw
he
under the
got
bus.
all the family. He wanted all the families in there. It was big enough. And Taylor brought her girlfriends, Ice Spice, whoever that is, and the great Blake Lively, and a girl named Kaylee Teller. Blake Lively's husband is Ryan Reynolds, who's Deadpool in the
Right.
movie, and Kaylee Teller's husband is Miles Teller, who is Top Gun. So they had Deadpool and Top Gun. They didn't even get tickets. I mean, their wives got tickets and they didn't. What's the story here? I would be peeled, wouldn't you? I mean,
well, you throw under the bus, Bob, the Super Bowl. I heard it was 164% up from last year's Super Bowl. The cost of tickets, concession, all that.
It's
I mean,
Vegas.
to get a suite, it was between $800,000 to $2 million. That's ridiculous. Somebody bought a Pepsi and a Gatorade, $23. I mean, you're just ripping people off right and left, but people pay the price. They pay the price. I'd rather
That's
sit
it.
home and watch it on
As
TV.
they'll pay it.
well, but it
Commercial.
was worth it. It was worth it just to see the Taylor
Yeah.
Travis kiss afterwards, though, wouldn't it? I mean, they'd have
That's
paid their lives to see that. Politics got involved too. Did you see this? That Trump said right before the game that there's no way that Taylor would. They're so terrified Taylor Swift is going to endorse Biden. And Trump said there's no way she's going to do that because she should thank me for all the money I made her by passing the Music Preservation Act, whatever that is. I mean, nobody knows what he's talking about.
He's
And
off the
then
wall.
Biden afterwards, he went on TikTok and, he kidded all the conspiracies. He said, that's just the way we drew it up. Just the way we drew it up. For the second year in a row, Biden didn't do the halftime interview. And, I mean, I think his handlers didn't want him to get on there and, say something about, I can't wait to see Lenny Dawson throw a pass to Ronnie Lott. Throw the old pigskin around. I mean,
Ronnie Lott.
They
it's
didn't
too
want
bad.
him to forget anything. Yep.
It's too bad. I
That's
want
right.
to see Joe at halftime.
Favorite commercial?
Oh,
Oh,
I
Dunkin'
got.
Donuts.
Oh yeah,
Donuts.
by a lot. It was great. See J Lo in the studio and Ben Affleck trying to do a rap deal with his Boston homies, Tom Brady and Matt Damon. I love J Lo's expression, and she said, get everybody get out of here." And then she said, "Tom, you can stay."
Yeah.
That was that was great. That was that was the best.
You can buy those jogging suits now through Dunkin' Donuts for $60.
Really. Oh
Wow.
Yeah.
wow.
I think I'll
You,
Listen,
you'll have
pass.
one on next week.
Yeah,
you know,
Curry will.
before halftime, there were so many commercials for the halftime show. What was on?
Yeah.
I mean, as if people are going to change the channel at the
I
halftime.
walked out of the room. I couldn't watch the.
Well,
I couldn't watch it. Just
What'd
well,
couldn't
you
I
watch
like
think
it.
I,
best, Coach?
I
Favorite
think I
commercial, Coach?
go back to commercials or doing halftime. I
Oh,
love,
well,
of
I,
course,
I don't want to talk about halftime.
I love.
Uh,
I'm such a Christopher Walken fan. I love the Christopher Walken for BMW. Everybody doing their impressions of Walken as he met them. That was very funny. I thought.
you got one?
Bob, what?
Yeah, I have
Bob,
the.
what
How
did you
about the
like?
little babies? The babies playing
Pickleball?
uh, pickleball. I thought that was
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
That's good.
I
I had
like
seen
Arnold
that.
in the State Farm commercials.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
like that.
Way
Was
back.
my
that was good. That was
that
excellent.
that was my number three. And then of course Beyonce trying to break the internet. I'm sure everybody voted for that one.
Probably. Yeah.
Um,
Did
and
you
the
guys get the
Clydesdale.
color of the Gatorade that was poured
Purple.
on Andy
Purple.
Reid?
It was
No, I
purple.
would have
Bingo.
guessed. I would have guessed orange. I would have guessed orange. I didn't get that one.
Yeah,
I
Rich
would have
Rich
lost.
bet on purple and he bet a lot of money. So he's Rich
Well,
is buying lunch this week because he got
Okay.
that one right.
Sounds
All right,
good.
enough Super Bowl. We got to talk college hoops. I got a great number for both of you guys when we come back. We're going to talk about the sport that made Curry famous, college hoops. It is crazy out there. His Heels even lose to Clemson for the second time in 3 generations.
wait a
Unbelievable.
minute. Wait a
We
minute.
got to throw somebody out of the bus right after this. We welcome you back to Under the Bus. Curry Kirkpatrick and Rich Basirico, along with me, Bob Stevens. We're waiting for Caitlin Clark to set the women's record. That's going to happen later this week. 8 points behind, and they're playing at home to Michigan. She's got 150 to go to catch Pistol Pete. You think she's going to make it, Curry?
Well, that's my boy. I hope not. I'm getting bored with Caitlin Clark. She was 0 for the fourth quarter the other night. Come on. I mean, what's the deal? Everybody's watching Caitlin Clark. I'm still watching the men.
All
You
right.
mentioned my Tar Heels.
Yes.
And I mean, it's no embarrassment to lose to Clemson, Bob, even if it was the second time in 100 years or something. I mean, I think, Clemson got jobbed at Duke. They barely lost to Virginia. I don't think anybody wants to play. They're a pretty good team. Nobody wants to play them in the state. I'm going to think they're going to get in the tournament, and I wouldn't want to play them.
Rich, I'm going to set you up here, Coach.
Okay.
After last night when Texas Tech killed Kansas,
Right.
it's the 33rd time that a top 10 team has lost on the road to an unranked opponent this year. That's already, and we've still got half the month of February to go, already the most for a season, for an entire season. And it's already happened 33 times.
That's crazy, isn't
It's
it? When you
crazy,
think
isn't it?
about it, it's crazy. There's more balance in college basketball for sure, and also I think basketball is the sport that when you play on the road, the home team has a huge advantage, and also with officials. I mean, we watch that happen all the time. Home officials. I mean, I think home teams have the advantage for whatever reason in terms of officiating, but it's different than playing in a football stadium. Every arena is different. The background's different when you're shooting. But home teams, I mean, you look at even some of the mid-major teams that have the advantage at home in terms of they'll be 4-15 playing a team that's 15-4 and they beat the team. I'm not throwing any names out here, but it's kind of crazy. Home court advantage is huge in college basketball, and of course, then when you get in the NCAA playoffs, you play at neutral site, so it changes obviously. But
Yeah,
I've
Kansas.
said to you guys before, Kansas is overrated. They're
Well,
overrated.
They're still going to win it all.
Rich, they're not playing with their best player. Their
I
best player hasn't
understand
played
that.
in two
I
games.
understand.
They
I
also
understand.
have guys injured. Kansas at home. Speaking of home
At
and
home is
away,
huge.
they are
Mhm.
such a different team at
Right.
home. When they play in
Yep.
Allen Fieldhouse, it's almost impossible to beat them. And
Right.
they had a great win over Baylor at home. They beat Houston.
Houston.
They did
Right.
embarrass Houston at home, but
Right.
they were playing without McCullers. The point guy got hurt against Texas Tech.
Right.
Texas Tech has a kid named Walton who started out at North Carolina, and he couldn't get off the bench. You know why? Because he's a terrific shooter, and we don't like shooters at North Carolina. We don't recruit shooters, and we don't like them. We never can shoot, so they got rid of him. He's one of the best shooters in the country now, playing a big factor in Texas Tech. Rich, I want to ask you about some of these scores. So you love these scores. How about Virginia? How about Miami, which can really play? Okay, they have
Right.
some really terrific players. Miami goes to Virginia and gets 38
Yeah.
points in the whole game.
Yeah.
Rich, 30, they get beat 60-38. Now they go
Well,
home and they play us at North Carolina on the weekend. They get 42 at the half. They had 38 in the game, and then they get 42 at the half. And we barely escaped Miami. It's like you say, it's the home court.
it really is. And that the one sport in targets, baseball, football, soccer, basketball has home
Nothing,
court
nothing
is
like this.
huge. It's huge. Virginia just plays Rick Curry, following them. They're very deliberate offensively. They're strong defensively. They
Pack line
control the
defense.
game. They
Well,
control the game.
they're very quietly have moved up to be one of the contending teams in the
Yeah.
ACC, and they're gonna get a big seed if they're gonna get us at home. I think they're gonna get Duke at home as well. If they beat both of, I mean, they're gonna be a top seed. They're gonna be get a really high seed. Their record is
They,
terrific.
if they win, beat those teams,
You
yes.
guys,
Yeah,
you guys
yeah.
say all that about home court. Kentucky's now lost 3 straight at
That's
home.
right. Yeah.
The
Well,
last
Yeah.
time that happened, you know who their point guard was?
Carl
Pat
Macy.
Riley.
Who? Oh, Pat Riley.
Pat Riley.
Yeah, Pat Riley was their
Wow.
point
That's a
guard.
great
Wow.
stat.
1966,
So,
Adolph Rupp was still the coach. They weren't even in Rupp Arena yet. Not 10
Rich,
years away from
Yeah.
Rich, the stat man got us again. What a great stat that is.
That's a great
I,
stat.
Wisconsin's
you
lost
know,
4 in a row. You guys were talking them up last week.
when Kentucky lost to Gonzaga on the weekend, and Gonzaga hadn't had a big win all year, they can't beat anybody, and they go into Rupp and they beat Kentucky, and Calipari, they're all shouts of fire, Calipari. You can hear it in the stands now. This
Yeah.
happens every year when Kentucky goes on a losing streak.
That's
Rich,
right.
my boy Rob Dillingham, Calipari didn't get him off the bench in the second half of that game. There's something going on there. I mean,
Maybe
Yeah.
he bumped
something
it during the first half, like Kelsey did with Andy Reid.
maybe.
Yeah,
How about Rich? How about Rich? You love, I watched Alabama Auburn early in the week, and there were 80 fouls in that game, Rich. 80.
there you
80
go.
fouls. And
Right.
Auburn took 50 foul shots
Yeah.
and made 40 and ran out Alabama, of course, at home and in the rivalry. And then Auburn goes into Florida and they get their ass absolutely
Right.
boat
That's
rushed.
right.
And so here's a coach I want to throw on a bus right away, which we can do every week. Bruce Pearl, one of the more obnoxious in the land. He goes, after he gets beat by Florida, he goes, what I'm paying the price for is my first 2 years at Tennessee, where I beat the national champion, the two-time national champion Florida team 3 times in 4 games. He says, nobody seems to talk about that, so I have to talk about that.
Oh,
Listen,
gosh.
Pearl, here's what I want to talk about. At Auburn against Florida, you're 3-9. So let's talk about that. I mean, how do these coaches, how can they get up there and say stuff like that? I mean, they have
He's
no
promoting
conscience.
himself. He's promoting himself.
I
That's
know.
what they do.
They have no conscience. Speaking of what other coaches I know? Oh, wait a minute. I know another guy I'll throw under, Rick Pitino. Again, he's on this show. He's on his show every year how does he ever get out from under the bus? The guy can't get out from under.
No.
So he beats DePaul, okay? He runs out DePaul, which is like a high school team. And there's all these rumors that his son, Richard Pitino, who coaches at New Mexico, is going to get the job opening at DePaul. So Patino, after the game, he comes out and says, no. And he says, I've got a plan in place where he's going to succeed me at St. John's. What? So he's already got this royalty succession in line where Patino stops the Patino. So the internet went crazy. So everyone went in a furor. What? And so now Rick plays Marquette the next game. Of course, he gets his ears blown off, and they get destroyed.
He was up.
Yeah, he's up 15,
you know?
and he loses. And they get run out again. So he comes out after the game. He said, "Oh wait, about the DePaul thing. I was only kidding." He says, "I was only kidding." Yeah, Rick. Meanwhile,
there are also rumors in Oklahoma that Porter Moser has having to knock down that he's going to go to DePaul. Why is DePaul such a great job all of a sudden?
Why would you want to go there?
Really?
He's got a better job at Oklahoma. Richard has a better job at New Mexico than
I know.
job.
He can't win DePaul can't win in the Big East. Come on, it's a joke. But
last
how
time
about
they were good was Ray Myers when Ray Myers was his last time.
I'm surprised Bob doesn't have a stat for us on that. Last time DePaul was any good. George Mikan. No, actually,
they were pretty good during the Aguirre days. They were, and Joey Meyer had a couple of winning seasons, didn't he?
A couple.
Yeah, but not many, and ended up getting fired there. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. Yeah.
I just want to point out one more coach under the bus. Speaking of the Big East, how about our boy Ed Cooley at Georgetown, who did a great job, rebuilding Providence. He gets to Georgetown. He's now 1-10 in the Big East. He's at Seton Hall the other day. Some Seton Hall kid, did you see this? He yells at Cooley. He yells out, "Hey Cooley, that's $7 million per win." That's because he got this incredible contract, which ruffled a lot of people. And the kid yells out, "Hey, Cooley, that's $7 million per win." And Cooley shouts back at him, "You know what? I'm rich as a mother." He says, "I'm rich." He yells back at the kid, "I'm rich as a mother. I'm rich as S." And then he says, after all, I was just joking with the kid. He says, "But nothing can get under my skin. I'm coaching in the Big East at Georgetown. What can get under my skin?" Well, apparently a student yelling at him, "Hey, Cooley, that's $7 million per win."
A perfect note to go to break. Everyone ponder that one. We're going to come back and talk about all kinds of stuff. We're going to catch up on a lot of stuff when we come back under the bus. We welcome you back. Bob Stevens, along with Rich Basirico and Curry Kirkpatrick. Tiger makes his first start this week at Riviera. It's the tournament that has his name with it. He's the kind of the sponsor. He has even showed up the last couple of years to hand the trophy to somebody else. Riviera, of course, is the one course he has always played that he's never won on. He has also come back now with a new clothing line. He's not going to win this week either.
No, come on, Bob. Come on.
Weird stuff.
I like my own clothing line. I like this one. I'm not going to wear
You're
Tiger.
doing better. Tuna skin. Yeah.
Well, you're Mr. Golf. I'm surprised you didn't bring up the tournament last year, last week in Phoenix, where everybody started getting in fights. They had to close too much alcohol. They had to close the gates.
I can go there. It's curious that all happens in Phoenix, where it always happens. Things always get out of control in Phoenix. Too many people and too much beer. The tournament ends up getting won by a Canadian, Nick Taylor. And of course, Phoenix is full of Canadians, so that probably adds to it a little bit. But Nick Taylor is the one.
Wait, whoa. Phoenix is full of Canadians? Where'd you get that stat?
Scottsdale. Arizona, they all go to the snowbirds in the winter. Come on.
I want to ask you a question.
You're down in Florida right now.
I want to ask you a question. You better have this ready for me. Where did my Frenchman finish in Phoenix?
I don't think he played.
Oh, well, he was probably afraid of the beer cans being hurled at him because he's a Frenchman.
He was
I do want
having
to
French
mention
bread.
one thing about Nick Taylor, the winner, Canadian, big deal, a lot of roaring going on. he has not bought a beer since that big long putt he made last summer to win the Canadian Open.
Oh,
And
that's
he may
right.
never
That's,
have
yeah.
to buy a beer, certainly north of the border, ever again. The one Canadian to win the Canadian Open.
Wow.
I forget these guys that come out of nowhere to win again. I don't even know their names. I think you need a big one. When is one of these big names going to win one of these early tournaments?
Be nice. There'll probably be one this week. It's again a limited field at
Well,
Riviera.
I'm going to predict Tiger doesn't get to Saturday. I'm going to predict that.
I think it's no cut. I'm not sure if there's a cut this week or not.
Well, speaking of Riviera, I've been to Riviera. I've played tennis at the Riviera Country Club with Clint Eastwood. Can you believe that? Yeah, I was doing a story on Illy Nastasi. Bob, remember we did the thing on Illy, and I was out there doing they were playing an LA tournament there, and Nastasi was practicing at Riviera, so I went out and hit with him, and there was Clint Eastwood hanging around, so I met him. So that was an unforgettable.
Did you play against him?
No. Well, I could beat him in tennis. I know that. I once saw him playing tennis. You know, he wasn't a very good tennis player. I could take him in tennis. I should have done that. I should have challenged Clint. Said, Clint, this is not your day, or whatever he said. I got one more. Before we go into miscellaneous, can I get one more coach thrown on the bus? I know you saw this, Rich.
Wow.
My boy Brent Langdon Williams, nicknamed Buzz Williams. Buzz Williams, the coach at Texas A&M. You know, he still's wearing the vests and ties and stuff. So he gets in it. Yeah, he's getting in it, and he's blown out Tennessee, which is another top 10 team on the road against an unranked team, and they're getting their boats blown off. But it's down to about 12, and they make a free throw. They make a 3-point on and one. Texas A&M does. Tennessee throws the ball in real quick, and Buzz runs out in the court because he wants a timeout. Well, he didn't get the timeout quick enough. He runs out in the court, and Rich, you saw this. Did you see that? He ran to half court with his suit and his vest on, and he's screaming and he's waving, and players are running by him, and they give him the timeout finally. And Rick Barnes goes nuts. He says, "Hey, where's the technical? Where's the technical? That's a tee. Tee him up. Tee him up." They don't tee him up. And Buzz Williams over there just smirking. I mean, have you ever had that happen to you, Rich, a opposing coach, or you run out and not get the timeout?
No, I've never seen a coach. I mean, he was in the middle of the floor.
He's middle of the play. He's in the middle of play was still going on as they're running down the court. I mean, it was a safety issue, if nothing else. I thought, Jimmy Dykes was doing the game on TV, former coach. He said the guy's got to get teed up. He said, I would have gave him 2 and out. He's gone. I mean, don't you think that's
home court advantage again? There's your home court advantage. He's playing at home. Yep. If he was on the road, he wouldn't have gotten a tee. Without a doubt, he would have gotten a tee.
Rich, the thing is, he didn't get the timeout in time, right?
I know. I understand.
He didn't call it in time. This is a big deal. I remember a game, North Carolina, Kentucky in Memphis. Elite 8 game to go to the Final Four, final seconds. Kentucky scores. Carolina throws the ball in real quick, gets it up the floor, and Luke May makes a shot to beat Kentucky, the gun, to send us to the Final Four. We eventually win the championship. I mean, it's one of the historical shots in North Carolina history. They asked after the game, asked Calipari, why did you call a timeout? He said, I didn't get time. They got the ball in so fast, I didn't have time I didn't get time, which is exactly what happened the other night.
Yeah.
And Buzz Williams is running out in the court to stop play. I mean, come on.
Wait a minute. You're saying Calipari played it straight? I don't believe that.
He admitted it. Yeah, he said I didn't get the timeout fast enough. I mean, coaches got to take.
You'll appreciate this, Rich. I once knew a famous high school basketball coach back in Oklahoma who was getting into it with an official, and he'd always had a towel over, kind of around his neck or over his shoulder, kind of like John Thompson. Anyway, he threw the towel up into the air, and the referee said, when that towel hits the floor, you're teed. Well, the towel got wrapped around the up in the rafters, wrapped around the bar up in the rafters.
No, it never came down.
The referee just walked away, and
wow.
The coach got away with it.
I have a funny one that happened with me. I was
Yeah.
we were playing. Actually, a friend of mine was the opposing coach, and during the game, I took my sport jacket off when he used to wear sport jackets, and I threw it on the ground and I stepped on it a couple of times. And well, before that, I should take a step back. Before that, he got a technical foul. So this is a couple minutes later, and I taken my jacket and threw it on the ground. I kept on stepping on it, and he points to the official and goes, "How does he not get a technical foul? Look what he's doing." And the official said, "Coach, that's his jacket. He can do whatever he wants to it." So I never got a technical foul.
Hey, speaking of referees, since tomorrow is Valentine's Day, I want to give a tribute to my favorite referee, TV Teddy
Oh,
Valentine.
yeah, he was on
It's,
last night.
still working. Last night, still working. I mean,
Yeah.
Was he really?
legendary. Oh yeah. Oh, he works every night. I think the guy's amazing. You know, there's a great story about Teddy that he was never a player and he was never a coach except in junior high school. He was a gym teacher or something, and the coach who went on pregnancy leave or something. He went and coached one junior high school girls game. He was the coach. He got a technical in the first half. He got another technical first half. He got a third technical first half. The referee threw him out of the game. And as he's leaving the court, the principal of the school is there and says to Teddy Valentine, "You'll never coach another game," which he didn't, and he became a ref.
He has sure decided a whole lot of games, though, huh?
He had some great run-ins with Knight. You know, he threw Knight out. He wasn't afraid to throw Knight out. I think he might have been the referee the night that Bobby Knight threw the chair across the court. He might have been.
Oh, wow.
He should
That
have
would have
been
been
if
a
he
pretty
won.
easy tee. I could have called that one.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Final thoughts, Coach.
Looking forward since football is over, I'm looking forward to college basketball continuing with these great games. Every night there's some really good games. Last night, just so not to throw in a bus, just to give praise to Williams from Texas Tech, scored 30 and didn't miss a shot. He was
Didn't
12 for
miss a shot.
12 from the
Yeah,
floor. Didn't miss a
yeah.
shot. It's pretty darn good.
Good stuff. Curry?
Can I do a redo on my boy Lionel Messi? Because I don't know
Sure.
if you found out the fallout of this when he didn't show up, you know, in Hong Kong, and all the fans start chanting refund, refund, refund. Well, this week the Hong Kong Society, whatever sports association, decided to do a refund.
Yeah.
They're giving 50% back to all the fans. It's going to cost them $5.5 million.
Wow.
So, but you know, the fallout of this is that, you know, there was a Hong Kong politician. I got her name, Regina Ip. She was furious. She doesn't want Messi to be allowed ever in Hong Kong again. She said his lies and hypocrisy are disgusting. Meanwhile, back in Argentina, how about this? The Argentina World Championship team, which had scheduled a series of matches in China, the Chinese have canceled their match because of this, because of Messi. Because of
Wow.
Messi not playing in the game, and they were supposed to play in Hangzhou, and I love this when the Hangzhou Commission canceled the game. They said the conditions are immature for the match to go forward. The conditions are too immature, which sounds like a legacy for this show, actually. But the conditions are too immature for us to go forward.
I've had a lot of numbers this week. I got one more going out, or one more list for you this week to wrap things up. Guys who have 3 professional championships, 3 rings, and 2 MVPs in their first 7 seasons in the league. There are only 7 people who are on that list. Bill Russell and Larry Bird, Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle,
Wow.
Stan Musial, Guy Lafleur from hockey, and Patrick Mahomes.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Nice
Good
little
stat,
list.
Bob. Good stat.
Nice little list.
The stat man always comes through, Rich, our boy.
Hey, our thanks to our producer, Justin Jarrett, and also our assistant producer this week, Wes Kerr. Thanks to him
All right,
for
Wes.
keeping us straight.
All right,
For
Wes.
Rich Basirico and Curry Kirkpatrick, thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week. Under
All
the
right.
bus.
Ciao.